Today we will talk about group training classes. Why are they so hard for dogs? And how can you help your dog succeed? Let's go! Obviously, my job is to deliver online dog training, but I strongly believe that group training classes are a fantastic way to work around distractions in a controlled manner. And before I moved to teaching online only, I actually was teaching a lot of group training classes locally, as well as taking my own dogs to group training classes. I believe if you can make them work for your dog, they are a really beneficial way for them to learn and generalize behaviors. But now, why are they so hard and how can you make them work for your dog? Number one, location. A lot of group classes are held indoors because there are fewer environmental distractions inside. However, the close vicinity of other dogs inside can actually make this really challenging. Even in large training buildings, there's often not enough space to move away from other dogs, and the acoustics can be quite challenging as well in many buildings. If your dog has been struggling with going to indoor group training classes, consider an outside class. They might be better suited for your dog. And by the way, when I was teaching local group training classes, I did not have my own training building and I always taught outside. Even beginner dogs were able to work through the distractions outside, so it's not like your dog has to start training inside. The next thing that makes it really difficult for our dogs: duration. Most group training classes are 1 hour long. And as someone who has taught a lot of group training classes, I can tell you that this is not based on the dog's attention span, but on economical considerations. It's simply not profitable to hold a group training class that lasts for 10 or 15 minutes. The good news is that we can absolutely train our dogs to have a longer and longer attention span and to eventually be able to sit through 1 hour of group training and behave well. However, for starters, the 1 hour is typically way too long. I highly recommend that you leave before your dog checks out. So if you know that by the 30-minute mark your dog really loses focus, then just leave after 20 or 25 minutes. If you have the opportunity to do so, you could, for example, go and put your dog in the car and then return without your dog to pay attention to the rest of the class. I used to do this all the time with new students in my own group training classes. I would let them know at the beginning of the lesson that I will watch their dogs very carefully and that I will tell them when it is time to go. Usually in the first lesson, I would send them home after about half an hour, the next lesson after 40 minutes, the next lesson after 50 minutes, and once they had been attending for 4 weeks or so, their dogs could stay the whole duration of the class. So if you feel like your dog is doing great for the first half of a group training class, this might be a really good solution. And finally, issue number 3 that makes group training classes really challenging is number of dogs in the class. Again, in order to be profitable, many dog trainers put 6, 7, 8 or even more dogs into a class. And that can be really hard to deal with for the dogs. Personally, I think that with every dog in the class, the challenge increases exponentially. Because on the one hand, there's more distractions for the dogs, and on the other hand, the trainer is not able to give much needed feedback to all of the students. So if you feel like the main issue in a group training class are the other dogs, see if you can find a class with fewer students or even semi-private lessons. This is a private lesson that is shared with one other dog owner and dog, and this used to work really well for my own students as well. So, if your dog is struggling with group classes currently, consider these 3 factors: location, duration, and number of dogs, and see if maybe you can tweak something on them to make your dog be more successful. And finally, some dogs are just not ready for group training classes currently, and some dogs might never be ideal candidates for them. And that is also okay. You know your own dog best, decide based on them and on your training goals whether group classes are for you. This was it from me for today. As always, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And until next time, I wish you happy training!